Preparing for round two of dramatic hearings on a botched federal gun-running sting. Operation Fast and Furious coming under the microscope for a second time on Capitol Hill. Agents lost track of high-powered firearms they were supposed to be using as bait. One was eventually used to kill Border Agent Brian Terry.
Rather than meet the wolf head-on, we sharpened his teeth, added number to his claw. All the while we sat idly by watching, tracking, and noting as he became a more efficient and effective predator.
Well, that was one ATF agent testifying at the first congressional hearing. Well, now House lawmakers are set to grill agents who worked on the other side of the border in Mexico. And California Republican Darrell Issa is the chairman of the House Oversight and Reform Committee. Thank you for joining us, Congressman.
Well, thank you. And not to correct you, but some of the witnesses came to us voluntarily and supported the program. Some came to us and had a long record of trying to stop this program. So it won't be as much grilling as discovery for the American people of just how much warning there was that this was a bad idea long before Brian Terry was gunned down.
And just to remind people what the idea was, the idea with Fast and Furious was to allow illegal gun sales in order to track where those weapons ended up. But after Brian Terry's death, at least some insiders said the program was a disaster. And we heard from Agent Dodson just there. You know, he says we let the wolf sharpen his teeth and his claws. You agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. More importantly, if all the facts were known, and they were by some high-ranking people at Justice, very clearly the stated goal of this was never genuine. There was always, in fact, knowledge of DEA and Justice that would have made anyone at ATF, even those who supported it, ask why they were doing it. And that's part of what we'll be going through on Tuesday, is letting the American people understand that ATF, to a great extent, was led to believe what they were doing was a good idea. Well, in fact, it was unnecessary. Those 2,000 weapons never needed to walk.
Well, the LA Times reports today that as congressional investigators were looking into all of this, the Justice Department was trying to throw them off the trail. Was there obstruction here?
Yes, there was. From day one, there was obstruction. They admit that for the first 90 days, they were just trying not to answer. But in fact, they advised potential and actual witnesses that they didn't need to testify before Congress. This was done both by the Democratic majority here in the House and by the Justice Department. And by any reasonable stretch of the imagination, it's obstruction of Congress in our lawful duty. It's concerning, but more concerning is how this program came to be and why it didn't get shut down much sooner.
And there is an attempt to look into that. As we mentioned, there is a House committee hearing next week, and one of the key questions is expected to be, were ATF agents actually ordered not to tell Mexican authorities that guns used in crimes were illegally purchased through Fast and Furious? Is that going to be a big focus here?
It's going to be a big focus. Next week's hearing is really about south of the border. It's about the Mexicans who died as a result of this. We don't have all the names. Clearly, we know that people south of the border died because of these weapons, and they died without Mexican officials or even ATF agents in Mexico knowing what they were up against.
And this hearing comes after earlier testimony. What did you think came out of that testimony? Some people say that it seemed to suggest that politics were involved here.
Well, clearly, these were political decisions by political appointees. But just like Iran-Contra, you don't worry about who's in the White House or who the Attorney General is. You look at the decision process. Have we put the right political appointees in to make good, solid judgment calls? And if we haven't, we need to replace them either with career professionals or with political appointees that are more sensitive to the job they're being asked to do. We want to make sure this is a bipartisan effort. We want to make sure, quite frankly, that it doesn't happen again.
All right, Congressman Darrell Issa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Pat Ann.